What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling, and this is a news and commentary break. So, amongst the news items that have come out over the last couple of days, probably the biggest one that a lot of people are looking at this morning is that WWE Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon is to take a leave of absence from her duties on WWE to focus on her family. Now, this comes, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of interesting things going on in WWE, in the corporate world, with the McMahon family. At one time, the entire family was part of the company in active roles, both on screen and behind the scenes. Of course, this is Vince McMahon, the patriarch of the family's baby, and the entire family has been in and out of the company. Of course, Shane has been in and out of the company several times. He actually got released earlier this year, and then he's back, and that's been a saga of its own. Of course, then we have Triple H, who is the husband of Stephanie McMahon, and he had his heart failure issues and pneumonia and all of those very scary, life-threatening issues last year. And we finally came, to see him at WrestleMania hang up his boots. It's very sad because, a lot of people dog on Triple H. I remember 1999, 2000, 2001 Triple H, he was one of the best in the world at the time. Don't let anybody kid you on that one for that period of time. His rivalry with The Rock was just an awesome thing to see. And his third title reign was awesome. And then he created NXT and did very well with that for a long time. But that's a whole other story. This one is a little bit more surprising to me because Stephanie always seemed to be, of all the McMahons in Vince's immediate family, she was the one that was the most stable. Linda, came, Vince's wife, she kind of was in, but she was really in it for the politics, and Shane wanted to do his own thing. Stephanie always was, there. She was always part of the company since, I believe she was 18. It's funny enough, I realized Stephanie McMahon and I are the same age, which is interesting. But as of tomorrow, this is a tweet that she put out. I am taking a leave of absence from the majority of my responsibilities at WWE. WWE is a lifelong legacy for me, and I look forward to returning to the company that I love after taking this time to focus on my family. Now, this does worry some people because of Triple H's health scare. Now, there's nothing said about that in these news articles that I have seen and any of the reports that have come out from WWE. It is, as of this recording, not a health scare with Triple H, why she's going to be focusing more on home, but you have to wonder about that. But I don't want to speculate too much into people's private lives, but there's been quite a bit of talk about what's going on backstage, especially now Nick Khan, who serves as president and the chief revenue officer, kind of being given the company from Vince. So it's not going to be a family thing, which I find to be very strange, that Vince would not hand over the company to a family member, given as much as he, talks about the legacy of his father and inheriting the company from his father. But it doesn't look like, either one of his children are going to take over the company, either Stephanie or Shane. And the most likely candidate was Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, but obviously he's not going to be able to, you can't, Vince's schedule, and we all know this, anybody who's bothered to look at Vince McMahon's life, that schedule that Vince has is a billionaire schedule. A lot of people say what they want, this, that, and the third about people who are billionaires and everything. The one thing I have known from researching a lot of people who are these big, the Elon Musk and the, any of those guys, that are at that kind of crazy level of wealth, is that they're crazy because they work all the time. Even in a lot of the millionaires that I know of a couple millionaires. I've worked for some people and been close to some of the people that ran some of the companies. Everybody I know in those positions, those people work all the time. And again, we know of Vince's schedule that he, at 73, 74 years old, is working out at 1 o'clock in the morning. He gets a little bit of sleep, gets up, and he works all day and travels and works and works and works and works and works. They're fruits of the labor, but I don't think that's everybody. It's a unique person that can do that stuff, and I just don't think to run what WWE has become that you can be somebody like Stephanie or Triple H or even Shane to an extent to have to do that. And the same thing goes over in AEW, which is why I think AEW is in good hands. As much as people may say stuff about Tony Khan, Tony Khan's the same way. Tony Khan works all the time. And when you see somebody like that who works all the time, and I work a lot, but I don't work as crazy as these guys do. That's a unique person. So maybe Vince is seeing that in Nick Khan. That might be what's going on. I'm speculating here. And the McMahons are now seemingly almost out of WWE. It's a very weird place now that the only McMahon still in WWE right now is Vince himself. And, Vince is not going to be around forever. So, man, there's some crazy stuff going on here. Hopefully, again, it's not a serious health issue that Stephanie is dealing with her family, and that it's just that she wants to spend more time with her family, given the pivotal years that their daughters are in. So we'll see if that happens. Jonathan Coachman is back in the world of wrestling. He has been, this Control Your Narrative thing is actually taken off. These guys were not kidding. He will be doing commentary for the former artist formerly known as Authors of Pain and this giant pay-per-view that's coming up from WES, Wrestling Entertainment Series in the UK, which is highlighted by a huge main event. And this, of course, brings up this series. So you've got a lot of people participating in this entertainment series. The first one's going to be in the UK. It's going to be on Saturday, June the 4th. So it's a series I'm going to be interested in watching and seeing how it does and seeing the production quality of it. And there are a lot of people controlling their narrative here. Karrion Kross is part of this thing. The main event is the artist formerly known as Braun Strowman taking on Alistair Overeem from the UFC. Overeem making his pro wrestling debut. Of course, Alistair Overeem, one of the few guys in the UFC to actually beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar. Tennille's going to be on there. I'm sorry, I'm calling them by their own old WWE names. Fandango and Lana and the Authors of Pain, Mojo Rawley, Nia Jax. I mean, you got a lot of former WWE talent that are going to be on this show. And the weird thing about Overeem is that he was quite vocal in the past of not being a fan of pro wrestling. He called it gay. He used gay as a pejorative to describe how he felt about wrestling. But he's going to be taking on Adam Scherr. I guess the money is good. They got some funding from somewhere. I'm going to watch the show. I'm going to be very curious to see how this wrestling entertainment series show goes. And does it become a thing? Adam Scherr has been vocal about, this is a challenge to AEW. They've been calling them out and all this stuff. And look, I think there's room for a third. There's room for a third form of wrestling. Because look at the number of talent that are on this card. And, WWE's already got stacked talent. AEW's already overbooked and they got too many talents, and even with two promotions they may have too many people. So I think having a third option and having something different that's more of like this a series of events as opposed to trying to be a weekly TV show, it might work out. We'll see. It's kind of the old TNA form, the very, very early days of TNA and the formula of doing a pay-per-view as the way your show is being brought to the masses as opposed to doing a TV show, which they probably wouldn't be able to get a network show for this, or doing it on YouTube or online or something like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna, the more the merrier. If you have good wrestling and good production, it's actually, bring it on. I don't care if these companies are fighting together and all the. Again, like I said, Adam Scherr having all this stuff to say against Tony Khan and stuff in AEW. I don't really give a crap about all that stuff. As long as what you're doing is good, if you're putting out a good show and it's another Major League Wrestling show, hey, let's go, man. Like I said a million times on this channel. And in every industry, every restaurant isn't as big and widely known as McDonald's. Every movie studio isn't as big as Disney's, but it doesn't mean that Sony and Burger King and Applebee's, and there aren't a bunch of other franchise restaurants that are very successful out there. And I've said this 1,000 times. Same thing goes for the wrestling industry. WWE can be the biggest, the baddest, but I think there's enough room for there to be other major league wrestling companies in the world. And if this entertainment series thing can kick off and be successful, again, more cool wrestling for us to watch. So I'm happy for it. The last piece of news, speaking about wrestling that's not AEW or WWE or New Japan, Ric Flair. We all know he's been training. We've all seen the videos. We've all seen the posts. And apparently now there is going to be a Four Horsemen reunion of sorts, where Rick, Tully, J.J. Dillon, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Lex Luger, who are all former Horsemen, will be having a reunion where Flair will have his official final match, despite the fact that it's still in my mind, his last match was WrestleMania 24 with Shawn Michaels. I'm sorry. That was the best way for him to go out. Rick, again, at 73, I believe he's at too. Him stepping back into the ring. Be safe. He's going to be safe. Flair's not that crazy. Or maybe he is. I don't know. I hope he isn't. And that he's going to take care of himself. And I worry about some of these guys at their advanced ages, over 50, who aren't in weekly ring shape. Like Minoru Suzuki is one thing, because Minoru Suzuki wrestles all the time. So he's in ring shape. And there's certain things that Suzuki will not do. But some of these other guys who are over 50 and are coming in here and there and here and there. I mean, even The Rock had a hard time coming back at 45, to doing wrestling, and it beat up his body so bad. So, but it should be cool to see the Horsemen reunited once again and Flair have his official last match. He wanted it to be Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat, at the time of this recording, decided he didn't want to do it. So, I am excited to see something about the Horsemen. The Horsemen don't get, WWE's kind of shied away from them, and AEW really can't talk about them too much. And their version of the Horsemen, the Pinnacle, really didn't last that long. So, I don't know. The Four Horsemen, though, there are members that are not there. People have brought it up. Some people are going, well, this isn't my version of the Four Horsemen. Where's Ole Anderson? I think some of the people that say that, though, probably don't know much about Ole Anderson. There's a reason Ole, I think he's got some health concerns now, but even before that, there were reasons why a lot of the guys weren't talking to Ole Anderson. We'll leave it at that for now. But Lex Luger, Lex Luger was the the first replacement guy. He replaced Ole Anderson in the Horseman. So some people say, well, I don't see Luger as a Horseman. I always saw Luger as a Horseman because he was kind of like the Wardlow. What Wardlow is to MJF right now was what Lex Luger was to the Horsemen when he came into the Horsemen in 1987, and I vividly remember those days. That's when I was massively into the NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions. They were so hot at that time period. And then Barry Windham came in after Luger as the young stud. There was a period of time where you didn't have the Horsemen. Flair went to the WWF, and then they came back. They redid the Horsemen. That was the infamous Paul Roma Horseman era. Sting, of course, at one point in time, he was in the Horsemen in 1990 temporarily. Then we got the famous days, the revitalization of the Horsemen in 95, 96, 97, 98, when you had Brian Pillman coming in there. Of course, Chris Benoit, Steve McMichael, who some people still crap on that. I think Steve McMichael being a Horseman absolutely worked perfectly. I think it fit. Ric Flair says that incarnation of the Horseman was one of his favorites anyway. Dean Malenko was part of the Horsemen. So there have been a lot of Four Horsemen over the years, and you could even kind of say Evolution. A lot of people say Evolution. You can kind of count them as the Horsemen, or at least kind of an alternate version of the Horsemen. Triple H, Randy Orton, Dave Bautista, and Ric Flair. So yeah, I kind of see them as like West Coast Avengers, I guess, version of the Four Horsemen. But yeah, it's pretty cool. That's why see that's another reason why I say comic books and wrestling are so related. There's so many similarities between them. But anyway. Check that out when you guys get a chance. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff in pro wrestling this summer, man. We're going to have a really fun summer, so I'm looking forward to it. All of these shows coming out, all of this new stuff happening in the world of sports entertainment and pro wrestling. But I want to know what you guys think about these stories. What do you think about Stephanie stepping down temporarily? We hope. Well, I don't really care, but but her stepping down temporarily from WWE, and maybe she'll be back. Do you think she's coming back, or do you think this is kind of it for her and the McMahon family being in WWE? What do you think about the wrestling entertainment series and where they're going to wind up in the world of wrestling? And what do you think about Ric Flair returning to have one final match in the Horsemen reunion? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, I'll see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary here on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.